Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa. Buddhang dhammang sangham namasami. This life as a monastic is a life of renunciation. This is not just what I wear at Quaker House on Friday night. This is it. If you look in my cupboard, you'll see one color. And it's only one hairdo. There's non-hair. And there's a one style. And it's a one direction life, going towards giving up, not accumulating, and letting go, not holding on. And following a teaching that doesn't just guide me towards getting what I want and having comfort and being self-concerned, but looking outward and being concerned for others, for developing a sense of understanding and community. Living alone in New Zealand, 3 minutes from the ocean, right next to a national park, I could practice and meditate all day, listen to the ocean, the waves lapping up on the shore. The people who owned the kutia I stayed in would offer me breakfast every morning, and somebody usually would come at midday and bring a meal, and that was what I ate. And if they didn't come, I could eat more breakfast. It was simple, and it was good enough. And it was just developing the practice in the context of the simplicity that we're encouraged to live through the teachings. It is about renunciation, giving up, letting go, being patient, practicing concentration of the mind, purifying our conduct, speech, and thought. When you live alone, you can navigate through the mind's tangles and come to a place of stillness a lot easier than when you're living in a family, for example, or going to work every day and having to deal with colleagues that you don't like, or that you feel are incompetent, or who are in competition with you. Or if you're struggling to keep your job when the economy is in a downward spiral. But I didn't have to worry about all those things because I live on the kindness of other people. However, there were times when even the simple things that were my requirements for breakfast and a meal, a few robes, some blankets, a jacket, it came a point when that wasn't enough. I didn't always get enough food, and that was hard. But I had a lot of faith, and my faith pulled me through the times when people failed to show up, even though they'd made a commitment to come. But then even when I got through that, I found that it wasn't enough. And I questioned, what am I doing here? I had a sense that there was more to be done. And then I doubted that I was thinking right, because according to the teaching, the renunciant gives up the world, goes into the forest, and develops the path. We develop the path. It's an internal practice. Just like you've done here tonight. You've given up the world, left your shoes at the door, come here to sit and to disentangle the tangle in the heart through the stillness and the silence. through applying the Eightfold Path internally. But then you don't stay here. Even if you were to stay here for 10 days and do this, or if you were to take a 1-month retreat, eventually, after cultivating for a month, you would go back to the world, to your life, and apply what you were learning to your workplace, to your family life, using the precepts compassionately in daily life. But here, living in the isolation and the incredible beauty, something wasn't enough in my heart. It's not because I didn't get enough food or I didn't have the requisites that I needed. I had enough, even in the times when I was hungry, because the Buddha doesn't promise liberation based on our conditions. Like, I want to get fed every day. I'll go and work for this freedom that's promised if I have nice robes to wear, or if people pay attention to me and look after me and make me feel like I'm being cared for. We don't take conditional vows. Just like when you get married, you don't take conditional vows, do you? What are those famous words? Until death do us part. But these days, as soon as it gets difficult, we want to leave and find some other conditions that might be better to satisfy the ego. Maras in the mind that send us in a new direction. And so I doubted this voice. It felt to me like it was just discontent, and I'm buying into discontent in the mind, so I doubted that voice. One day, I was walking down the beach at twilight, and I was invited to come back to Canada. But I wasn't sure, why should I leave living in paradise? Such beautiful conditions for practice. So I asked for a sign. Should I really leave this? Where is there to go? What else is there in the world for one who has left the world behind and is dedicating oneself to cultivating the path internally in solitude? What else is there? Where else is there to go? And on this particular beach, the sea gives gifts. And one of the gifts are power shells. They're usually very big and very turquoise. This was a beach famous for surfing, and you'd never find a power shell in one piece. You'd just find pieces. That night in the twilight, I saw a flicker of turquoise, and as I always did, because I loved picking up even the pieces of power shell, I thought, maybe it's a piece of power shell. And I picked up the tiniest power shell that I'd ever seen. And it was intact. It was not broken. Even though the ocean on this beach was quite fierce. And the likelihood of that tiny shell coming ashore unbroken was pretty remote. But there it was. Not only that, I found it in semi-darkness. So I took that as a sign that if I were to toss myself out into the sea of life, I would land well. I would land intact. I would not be broken. And I would find the work that I was meant to do, just like that little shell. So I came here on faith. And I came because I felt that working hard on one's own heart and trying to open and understand, going back into the world and reaching out, I would serve, to help, to share. that's what you do every week or every time you come here. You don't just sit and then are content with just sitting. You go back into the world and try to practice there. So coming back to Canada, I had no idea. It was almost like a going forth again. When you become a monastic and you take ordination, you get your hair shaved off and you wear a robe, and you make a commitment to be a disciple of this path of letting go and leaving the world behind. And here I was returning to the world without knowing, again, I trusted that it would all work out. And we have never, not a day, when we haven't had enough to eat. I remember that little power shell that said to me, go forth again, share the gifts. And so at the age of 60, I thought, I must be mad. What am I doing? But it seems like I don't feel older, I just feel like younger, and there's more work to do, and the more I do it, and the more people come, the more energy I receive. So the formula is there. There's the Eightfold Path and the 5 faculties and the 4 foundations of mindfulness and the 7 factors of enlightenment, but they're just lists. Lists, you memorize them and then it all sounds very pretty. But when you serve the Dhamma, it serves you. And if you practice generosity, then you know the joy of giving. Before I became a nun, I knew the joy of giving, and I thought once I gave up money and had only robes and requisites for the holy life, that I wouldn't be able to give. But the more I'm given, the more I find I'm able to give. And it's not an economy of material exchange. It's an economy of giving gifts. It's a giving one's life for something you love, just like a mother gives her life for her children. So the faith rises up from that generosity. Energy rises up from that generosity. Mindfulness, the whole path, the Eightfold Path, rises up from that ability to give and serve others. Giving Dhamma, so that the teachings are available. So what started out as a life of seclusion and solitude and renunciation has become a life of riches, more than I can hold, more than is just for this generation. And I realize that comes from giving. First, you give up in very basic ways, like give up eating in the afternoon because we keep these precepts. You think that the limitations of taking precepts will somehow impoverish you because you won't be able to do what you want. You won't be able to do what the ego wants you to do. But you'll be liberated to do the things that will nourish and nurture you in a way far greater than the ego can provide or enable. By practicing unselfishness, by restraining these sense doors, by making a commitment even when it gets very, very unpleasant. You don't get what you want to eat, or you don't get enough of the comforts you like. It's all selfishness, thinking of me and mine and what I need and what I want, instead of how can I help others. This is what mums and dads learn because of the love of your children. This is what daughters and sons learn when our parents get elderly and we want to express gratitude. generosity of spirit and bringing the mind back to a sense of gratitude for the gifts we receive enables us to serve in the most unselfish way. So don't make little of giving. If you want to give a gift, give the best you can give. And don't think of your gift giving only in material terms. Think of ways to give, like giving your time, giving protection, giving safety to someone else. If you follow the precepts, generosity is the basis of sila. If you follow the precepts of not killing any living thing, then you will learn to save life. Saving life means protecting others. If you follow the precept of not taking what hasn't been given, then you learn the real practice of generosity because you practice unselfishness. If you practice being faithful to your loved ones, to your partner, in the use of your physical energy, your strength, your senses, then you practice right action in so many ways, right relationship, and you enhance peace in this world, harmony, unity, cooperation, reconciliation, forgiveness for yourself and others, and you bring compassion to bear. You make it alive. If you practice right speech, then you do that same enactment of compassion through the speech door, not harming anyone, being kind, sensitive, thoughtful, and gentle in our relationships. And in what we say to ourselves, I'm a bad person, there I go again. All those messages that we give ourselves through wrong thinking, through wrong inner speech. Like when you're sitting and meditating, it could be whole editorial commentary going on. The internal radio that refuses to shut down. The critical mind that tosses us far from our center, far from the silence, and takes us back into the noise of the world and the confusion of the mind. And if we keep the precept of not using intoxicants or any kind of drugs and intoxicating substances, then we protect the mind so that it can hold the other precepts and perfect them, develop them, realize them, that we can learn what we're really doing here on this planet and how to best fulfill our potential as human beings in wisdom, purity, and compassion. Think of a piece of jewelry. Jewelry is for adornment. And when it's tarnished, it can be cleaned by putting it in the fire. This is the old way. Clean the jewelry through heating it up, purify it. Gold is purified in the fire. But that does not destroy the gold itself. It only destroys the impurities. In the same way, the mind, when the mind has heat applied to it, the heat of practicing sila, samadhi, panya, this training of the mind requires heating it up. Restraining. Restraining is training. Training through giving up, through silence, through staying committed, persevering, patient. through practicing generosity, commitment, kindness, loving kindness, equanimity, truthfulness, gentleness, forgiveness. These are the ways that we burn away the defilements in the mind. But through that burning, the training in morality, concentration, and wisdom does not burn the mind. It only burns the impurities. Then the mind becomes like a jewel. It's much more than some precious gem. It becomes like the most precious gem that we have. The most precious thing is to purify the mind so that we can clearly see how to live, how to develop. Then we understand our true nature through this purification. And it's a fire. It's a burning. Don't be afraid of the heat. Go towards that which supports you. Live in joy and peace.